Hey everyone, Luke here. My buddies and I got 3 games of Warhammer in last night. It was pretty awesome. Um, one of them was pretty dang short, but here's the first of those. It's an Ogres versus Warriors of Chaos. All of these are going to be 2,500 points, and these guys rolled up Battle for the Pass. So here's what the board looks like. We've got a Weirding Well on the right side there, a Sorcerer's Portal that's going to be shooting the closest unit with some random effect. 2 forests, both forests here end up being normal or don't. If they're not normal, they don't really affect the game. There's a Banestone right in the middle, which is +1 to wound anyone that's within 6 inches of it. So that is going to be right in the middle where they're going to be fighting. And then an Elven Waystone on the side by the Ogres. So this is the same Ogre player who was in my last battle report. So the lists are fairly similar. He's got 4 Lead Belchers in a 2x2 formation. Brought an Iron Blaster with him. Then instead of a Gut Horde, he's got 2 groups of Guts. One has his level 1 Lore of the Gut Maw Butcher in there. He's just doing the Butcher tack so he can get the actual lore he wants. And that's on his Slaughtermaster, who's a level 4 in the other group of Guts. There's also a Tyrant and a BSB in there. And he has the Lore of Beasts. There's a Sabertusk closest to us here. Then we've got 3 Mournfang up on this flank and 4 Lead Belchers there on the other side of those trees. Then finishing off the Ogre list, he's got 2 Sabertusks. The Chaos player brought 5 Knights, a group of Chosen, and I don't really know Chaos well enough. I don't remember what marks he had and all that, so you have to forgive me. Then he's got a Giant. Right behind that Giant, he's got a sizable group of Warriors with a level 4 Sorcerer in there. That level 4 has Lord of Shadows. Then he's got a Hell Cannon in the back, a horde of Marauders. I think it's close to 40 strong, if not 40 strong. And there's a level 1 Sorcerer in there. And then he's got some Hounds. So it's Ogre's turn 1. Everything that doesn't want to charge makes its leadership, because most guys are frenzied out here. But the Giant does want to charge. He charges the Sabertusk, who flees. And the Knights also charge this Sabertusk, who also flees. Everyone else just moves up, as you can see. The Marauders move into the forest, but like I said, there are no problems here, so there's no dangerous terrain for them. During Magic, the Sorcerer's Portal fires Wissen's Wild Form out, blessing the dogs, the Chaos Dogs. During Magic, it's 3 dice versus 2, and the Chaos player tries to cast Melkoth's juiced up on the Mournfang, but it gets dispelled. During shooting, the Hell Cannon puts 1 wound on the Iron Guts. It only does 1 wound, but when the Hell Cannon hits, it triggers a panic test at -1 leadership, and they fail, and so they panic and bounce through the building. And that's it for Chaos 1. Ogre's turn 1. This dog fails its march, its test to march being near an enemy unit, and it just moves up to where you see there, kind of getting in front of the bigger group of Iron Guts. The other dog rallies here, turns around, but the top dog keeps fleeing. And also the Lead Belchers, who are on the other side of the building, they also rally. This is just another pick from the Chaos lines here. During Magic, it's 8 dice to 5. The Sorcerer's Portal casts again and throws Wissens on the dogs again, the Chaos Dogs. The Ogre player uses Grut's Sickle, which does a wound to his unit, but he doesn't have any negative effects from it. He's +2 to cast. He puts 3 dice to cast Curse of Honor here on the Chosen, and the Chaos player lets this one through. Then he decides to use I think he only does another 2 dice and does Wissen's Wild Form, but it's such a high casting on his roll that the Chaos player also lets that through. And then the Ogre player just decides to stop casting because he's way out Dispel diced. During shooting, the cannon puts 4 wounds on the Giant. The Giant doesn't really have any save, so that thing's really getting close to dead. And that's it for Ogre's turn 1. Chaos turn 2. This is actually very bad for them. The Giant charges the dog, and he doesn't have any problem with that, but the Chosen fail their Frenzy charge. He doesn't want to, so he has to roll. He fails it twice because the BSB's nearby, and so he has to charge, but because of Curse of Honor here is out, it's treated as dangerous terrain for them, and they fail on a 1 or 2, and he loses 7 freaking Chosen. There's no armor save for dangerous terrain, and that's what a lot of these Chaos guys are relying on, so they just bite it there. Doesn't have to take a panic test from that because he's frenzied, but it's brutal. Everyone else up. Everyone else just moves up, as you can see. The knights on this side, they don't have to worry about being charged by the Mornfang this round because that dog's in the way. So that's nice. So they're just going to move up to where they can have the option next turn wherever they want to go. I thought that was pretty good for them. During Magic, it's 8 dice to 6. I don't remember. I didn't write down what the Sorcerer's Portal did, but it was probably like Wiston's again. It was a beneficial effect. The Withering gets cast in the Iron Guts, but the Ogres throw all of their 6 dice to Dispel, which is probably a good thing. Chaos casts Occam's Mindrazor on the Horde of Marauders, which is irresistible, and he rolls and gets I think he got like an 11 or 12. So he tried to use his puppet, but he only rolled the 1 on the puppet, which would allow him to move on the chart up to D3. It didn't, so basically it didn't affect him at all. He was still stuck in Amnesia. So that ended up going off, making the Sorcerer lose 2 levels, and he lost Occam's Mindrazor and Melkoth's spells. So then the level 1 picked up the rest of the dice and tried to cast Magnificent Buboes, but it failed to cast. And that was the end of the phase. During shooting, the Hell Cannon hits one guy here after it drifts a little bit, triggers a panic test, does a wound. It might not have actually wounded. Yeah, it did not wound, but it still triggered the panic test, but they held. In close combat, the Giant has always strike first, and he rolls on his chart to see what he's going to do, and he gets hits with the club. So he does a wound. The Chosen do all the rest of the wounds to the dog, and because of Frenzy, they have to overrun. The Giant goes further, so he's going to be right up front to fight those guys, those Ogres, but 7 more. I'm sorry, I put 7 there. It's actually 4. 4 more Chosen die. So he's lost a total of 11 so far just from dangerous terrain, and it's getting, I mean, that's just tough. There's no way around that. That's awful. And so here's a picture at the end of the turn. We go to Ogre's turn 2. The Iron Guts charge the Giant. Nice juicy target right there who's got a lot of wounds on him. Taken off of him, I should say. The Sabertusk charges the Chosen. The dog does not rally and ends up fleeing through the Mornfang, who then panic and start heading towards the end of the board as well, which was a nice stroke of luck for Chosen. The Leadbelchers, having rallied last turn, turn around and garrison in the building. And we go into the Magic phase. The Sorcerer's Portal puts Speed of Light on the Occam Mind-Razored up Horde of Marauders, so that's going to be really good for them if they get into combat soon. Magic is 6 dice to 3. The Ogres use the Sickle again and cast Curse of Honor here. I think they tried to cast it on the Horde, but it drew the Dispel Scroll from Chaos. And then Ogres cast Juiced Up Pans and Penetrable Pelt on this close group of Iron Guts here, the one with 3 characters in it. So those characters now have +3 toughness, and that's going to be awful. During shooting, the Leadbelchers put 3 wounds on the Knights, but they armor save all 3. The Iron Blaster puts 3 wounds on the Hell Cannon, which actually, it could have killed the Hell Cannon outright, so I count that a stroke of luck. And the Leadbelchers up at the top in the building, they blow up all the dogs. So in close combat, impact hits alone kill the Giant, and the Iron Guts overrun straight forward and get into the combat with the dog and the Chosen. There they get a second round of impact hits, slamming into him, killing 2 of the Chosen outright. And during the combat, the Tyrant ends up taking a wound in a challenge, and then he whiffs all his wounds. Then in turn, all the Chosen whiff all their attacks back, and the dog actually kills 1 Chosen. So when all's said and done, the Chosen lose combat, they break, and they get run down by the dog, who rolls enough to make it into combat with the Warriors, which is going to slow them up on their turn. That is not that is not what the Chaos player wanted. He wanted to be able to charge in and just smash into those guys, but that is about the best use of the dog I've seen in a long time. So this is what the board looks like as we're going into Chaos turn 3. The Marauder Horde charges the, I'm going to call that the Lesser Guts group, the only one with only 1 character in it. The Knights choose to charge the flank of the Character Gut group. Just try to hold him up, try to do some wounds if he can. I think it's a good call. He has to get through the forest, but he doesn't take any dangerous terrain from it, so that's nice. Or he rolled, but he didn't fail. During Magic, the Sorcerer's Portal casts again and puts Speed of Light back on the Marauders. I mean, the Chaos has been really lucky on that. All they've gotten are benefits. They haven't really come into play, but it can do nasty stuff. So that's going to help in this combat. During the Winds of Magic, it's 4 dice to 3. Chaos player tries to cast the Withering on the big super gut group with the characters, and it draws the Dispel Scroll. During shooting, the Hell Cannon ends up hitting a direct hit on the Iron Blaster and rolls a 1 to wound. Nothing happens. So I was really, really pissed at that. During close combat, the Warriors unexpectedly pace the dog, but they don't get to, they didn't charge in, so they're stuck where they are. And during this combat, 10 attacks go on the Tyrant himself. And I think a lot of them ended up hitting, but with Pan's Impenetrable Pelt, none of them wounded. One knight ends up dying, and Chaos actually, even charging in, being in the flank, they lose combat by 1, but they stick around. In this Marauder fight, the Ogres end up losing by 3, but they hold. And this is what the turn looks like at Ogres turn 3. The Iron Blaster decides, screw shooting, I'm charging in to help with the Marauders, which I think is a great call, and it can clip in the corner there, so he goes ahead and charges. Over here, the dog flees off the board, but the Mournfang end up rallying, which is pretty great. The Lead Belchers move up and shoot the Warriors, or, they're moving up to get position to shoot the Warriors from the woods. And during Magic, it's 8 dice versus 6. Speed of Light is cast again on the Marauders, continuing this luck streak. And this is a good Magic phase for the Ogres. He uses the Sickle, takes his wound, doesn't have any negative effects at the end of the phase. He's able to 2 dice pretty much everything. So he 2 dices Curse of Honor here on the Warriors, which wasn't able to be dispelled. Then he 2 dices Wissen's Wild Form on the Iron Guts. That's I should call them the greater gut group, one of the characters. And then he rolls 2 dice at Pan's Impenetrable Pelt. He doesn't want the Deuce Up version. He's just going to put it on the Tyrant, but he rolls Irresistible Force. Then he rolls on the chart, but with the Chaos player using his puppet, he ends up getting him to Amnesia. So the Slaughtermaster loses 3 levels, forgets Pan's Pelt, Wissen's Wild Form, and Curse of Honor here. And then with the last few dice, he tries to cast Bull Gorger, and that gets dispelled. Then during shooting, those Lead Belchers that moved up in the forest end up doing 8 wounds on the Chosen, and that's at this point where the Chaos player concedes. He was having a rough time with it. It's just some pretty bad luck. I don't think it was over, but we knew we could get a couple other games in. And so we kind of just talked through the combat. We were pretty sure that the Hordes were going to lose. I think the Chaos Knights might not have been able to hold around, but honestly, he was demoralized by having Curse of Honor here on the guys who were going to need to be coming in to help that middle combat. And then with the Mournfang rallying, he just didn't think he had a really way to win this one. So I think he called it early, but we move on.